Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the south corner but playing in red, we've got Myriad playing as the English. And his opponent in the north playing in teal, we've got crackedyhere playing as the Byzantines. Welcome everyone to Highview. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hopefully you are having a fantastic day, and today we have got a cracking game for you. The English versus the Byzantines. Two civilizations that do pretty well, whether it be in the Feudal Age, Castle Age or Imperial Age, all the major stages of Age of Empires 4. We've got the Byzantines that can open up with the Imperial Hippodrome, gives them access to cavalry that can put some earlier pressure on. And then you've also got the Grand Winery for the Byzantines as a secondary option, which is probably catering towards the later stages of a ranked match, whether it be the Castle Age or Imperial Age. It gives that olive oil, which is pretty nice, a 60% bonus on the olive oil, whether it be gathering from berries or olive groves, of which we already see one placed down for Crackedy. The English have two options themselves, of course. The Council Hall can pump out those longbowmen nicely and quickly, right off the bat in the Feudal Age, but also the Abbey of the Kings is a really often, it's a good option for if you want to try and get to the later stages with the second town centre, protect it, and also harass your enemy nicely at the early stages of Feudal Age. Kind of curious to see which options they both challenge for or go for. Typically things have been opening with the Abbey King, so it's quite likely that would be the case into a second town centre. It's a build that actually works against most civilizations, or at least does pretty well against most civilizations at this stage. The Abbey of the Kings went from a meme landmark, a landmark that was barely ever chosen, to now being the staple of the English choices in the Feudal Age. It's something the Byzantines will have to look to try and address. Now, if he does go for the Abbey of the Kings, then of course the Grand Winery does make more sense for the Byzantines. But as a pairing together, it would be pretty cool to see the Council Hall versus the Imperial Hippodrome. But it will indeed be the Abbey of the Kings for the English, and it will be the Grand Winery for the Byzantines. Now, Crackedy actually playing on the He Who Loses account, which we'll see if he will be the one that loses today on Highview. Now, what's kind of interesting about this matchup as well, and something that's possible for the English, on maps like Highview, cavalry is actually a decent option. The stealth forest gives a lot of problems in terms of vision, and the English could look to leverage that with cavalry. Now, you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, the English are known for their longbows, but hear me out. We've seen some great games recently with the English being played where actually opening up cavalry can set themselves up really nicely for the late game. And the reason why, opening up cavalry, if you do feel like you're getting a bit of the rub of the green in terms of dictating the terms of the game or the pacing and the strategy and the choices, opening cavalry forces your enemy into, in this case, Limitane, which is not a bad unit for the Byzantines. It's actually pretty well scalable. But what it does then is it sets up for a really nice transition to man-at-arms, using the English farms with enclosures in the Imperial Age, getting access to food and gold simultaneously allows the spamming of a lot of man-at-arms very quickly. And that, of course, can do wonders against mass Limitane. Of course, this is just one unit interaction, and a lot of the times players do opt for like an armoured composition. And to be fair with the English, getting that man-at-arms crossbowman play in the Imperial Age is something they look to try and leverage. So of course, setting it all up nicely, opening up with cavalry and then switching, can be a really nice overall game plan for the English. Now, either way, I would like to say a very big thank you for everyone who's been supporting the channel, whether it be on Twitch or YouTube. You guys are absolute legends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. A little bit of a sneaky or cheeky request, if I may. It's completely free for you guys, but if you drop a comment in the comment section below for YouTube, whether it be like your favorite emoji, that's probably the easiest thing to do. It helps me out massively on the YouTube algorithm side of things, and it's completely free for you guys, of course. It's been working pretty well, actually, in terms of boosting up my impressions on YouTube in recent videos. It means that a lot of people that necessarily wouldn't watch Age of Empires 4 are now watching it. It means more eyes on the game, maybe more players, a healthier player base, maybe all translates to a very much boosted ecosystem for Age of Empires. And there's that second cistern coming up for the Byzantines. Typically done at this time, and it will increase the gather rate of the villagers. This is a very nice kind of eco boost for the Byzantines that they get nice and early. Compared to the English, of course, they have to rely on those cheaper farms and faster gather rate from them as he ventures into the sort of mid-feudal age. And there is that king nice and early, as you'd expect, coming out for free. Making his way across the map. Something that, of course, Crackedy is keeping an eye on with this scout. He's going to try and keep vision of it and look to try and make sure that he reacts quickly if the king does look to try and snipe villagers. Going to try and build a barracks on that forward position, which is actually kind of a little bit open, although to be fair, should be within the range of the town centre. So the 3 villagers should be okay. And we talked about opening up cavalry. I mean, it's already started that process of just making Crackedy commit to a barracks for some limitane for defensive purposes. But of course, just one king won't force too many limitane out for Crackedy. We'll have to see what the follow-up is from the English. Well, we already know it's going to be... well, actually, is it? Yeah, he's going to be getting that second town centre. Acrotoy is deployed, by the way, for the Byzantines, which is actually really nice for them to defend against the king. Gives them additional extra damage, and also increases their armour for 30 seconds. Makes them a lot harder to raid. Trying to get us around, gets a couple of free hits, actually, which is very nice for those villagers. Now, back at home, second town centre is placed on the gold vein. That will help him get to that castle age soon. Keeps it well protected, of course. We shall see if he commits to any particular production building. Does he go for feudal age aggression here, Myriad, or does he just look for the castle age? Go for the berries to mop that up quickly, and also starting the farming transition, which is nice and early. I've got to say, these two civilizations, what's kind of fun about watching them is that both civilizations typically get the farm transition, or in this case the Byzantines, the olive grove transition, nice and early. They add them in slowly but surely, and that helps that economy run really smoothly over time. It ticks along, and a lot of civilizations need a heavy transition onto farms later on, like the 15-20 minute mark, depending on how adventurous they can be on the resources, whether it be deer or boar. But the English and the Byzantines, nope, they don't really need to. They look to leverage the powerhouse of their olive groves and farms. And that means that there's no kind of lag time, right? Because farms cost a lot of food for a lot of civilizations, and so you usually have to take a break from producing units. But when you add them in slowly like this, you don't really feel that gap. You don't really feel that pause in unit production. You don't really need to pause it. We'll snipe one villager, nicely done. Of course, the Agritoy is on cooldown. It can't just keep spamming it. It's got a good few, I think it's about a minute and a half, I think. Something like that as a cooldown. So you've got to be careful with how you spend it. Now the scout just chilling out with the king, giving that extra vision. Of course, high view map where vision is a problem. Something that necessarily is kind of, well, I guess in a way for the English, it's not necessarily too much of a problem if they are looking to be aggressive. They would usually look to try and get the network of castles bonus on the map by getting extensions of those outposts. But something that could be plausibly done and probably worthwhile doing actually for the English. Limitane does snare the king, but there's only one there, so the king just ventures around. There's a second Limitane approaching, and let's get a few hits. It protects the villagers. I love the fact that Crackedy, of course, bringing back the weak villager to start working on the sheep, maybe. I have to see. He's actually come off sheep completely. Oh no, there's a couple of villagers there. Taking a couple of hits, and the berries are, well, they're almost taken, but king continues to try and harass and poke and prod, trying to cause as much idle time as possible. Agritoy is actually deployable again. And the third batch of farms has been working on here by Myriad. That's going to be a lot of food coming in quickly. It did add in an archery range as well for those longbows, continuing the production of units. And well, actually, it's not actually made any, curiously enough. It might have been baiting a little bit. Speaking of longbowmen, it will be longbowmen for the Byzantines. Moving on out, paid for by olive oil from the mercenary house. Behind this, it will be the castle age, adding in double barracks and a blacksmith. So he had one barracks already, decided to make a second, possibly for Varangian guards. Which is kind of an interesting unit, right? 90 food, 40 gold. It's not a cheap unit. The sniper villager, good start here for Crackedy. Nice work. Both players have lost a single villager each, and looks like Myriad looking to wall up on the south west of the map to protect the deer camp. But it's walling up to the woodline. That's actually nice walls, actually. It does protect a lot of the back, berries and gold, and a big chunk of trees. Manages to snipe another village on the farms as well. Not much protecting this location, and he's going to look to try and get the white tower, I would imagine, for that castle age, but it's a little bit way off it. Especially lacking on the gold. This is kind of hurting, actually. Nice cycling around with those longbows, causing a lot of idle time. And Crackedy is now up to the castle age, which now enables him to look to try and pick up those relics. The Grand Winery should be producing some of those monks pretty soon to get on the map. Speaking of which, the king... Oh, this could be a bad time to lose king. He does lose it massive there for Crackedy. You might be thinking, why is it so massive? Well, now that monk from the Grand Winery, if it does pop out soon, at some point, there is. It's training now. He'll be able to pick up those relics pretty uncontested at this point. That's a lot of longbow for Crackedy. And all things considered, I mean, ultimately, Crackedy does need to get on the map. He does need to do some damage, right? Because he is one town centre behind. Here come the Varangian guards. He's getting iron undermesh, and he could potentially queue up wedge rivets to add into that. Looks like White Tower. Going to try and rush that up. Walls are actually going up now. Nicely done by Myriad, actually. The longbow's kind of moved south, and he will get another villager for it, which is great. Maybe even another. But now the palisades are slowly being made, and so the White Tower should be going up, which is the big deal, right? The last thing you want to be doing is being hard stuck in the feudal age. Although the scout kept there by Crackedy moving out, spots the villagers, and longbows are going to chase, which is trying to get palisade as well, just to trap them in. They are pretty much trapped now with the villager walling up, but can try and get a gate and escape, and he should be able to make it on time. But he might lose a couple. He has lost 7 so far. Oh, this is great play there by just putting... Oh, okay. Limitane going for the wall, though. There's only one Limitane after all, so he's actually not going to fight that away. I thought Myriad for a second might have looked to fight that. Going to try and get palisades here, but I don't think it's going to work. Going to lose 2 more villagers. On the right side, the White Tower does go up. And the Varangian guards might need to back away. It's going to be hard to push that location, right? Try to go for the... Oh, this is not good. That's really bad. It could not have gone any worse there for Myriad. That one Limitane baited him to go back, and they went back to their deaths because I don't think there's too many that are going to escape out of this. Could be a couple maybe, but wow. It does snipe yet another. Lost 16 villagers in total, losing more. And that means, I mean, the villager lead is still there, believe it or not, for Myriad. He did add in that second town zone, of course, so that certainly helped, but I guess work is still cut out for Crackedy because he's still behind on the village count, but he's got a large amount of military to show for it. His economy, and he's looking to pick up those relics. Already 1 in his clutches, looking to bring that back home. Varangian guard, though, dies a painful death. Where is that monk, actually? Where is he exactly? Either way, he should be bringing one back home soon. Crackedy behind this, looking to extend the water level to water level 3. Just to get that economy rocking and rolling. But these longbowmen, they might get cleared up soon now, but they've definitely got some value for sure. They can try and micro as much as you can to get as much more as possible. Unfortunately, the veterancy wouldn't have come in by the time that these guys go down, and neither would Steeled Arrow, so yeah, these guys will be gone, but they've definitely done some great work. Yeah, the veterancy of the longbows. On the west side, Myriad managed to escape with those villagers, going out to gold and getting an outpost for protection now. Setting another batch of Varangian guards there. Crackedy. Double archery ranges does allow him to look to maybe get some crossbows, but he's sticking with the longbows for now. Kind of curious decision, actually. I mean, surely, yeah, I mean, longbows do help in the long run, but crossbows could be a play considering the play for the Varangian guards, right? Double barracks opening. With that, we'll have to see. 1 relic already deposited in the Grand Winery, right? I would imagine. Yep, is in the Grand Winery, so that will give him some extra olive oil. Very nice passively. Myriad with the cavalry play, looking to pick off reinforcements. But this is the play, right? This is so interesting. Like, opening up the cavalry with the knights. This is what we talked about. It might force the Byzantines into Limitane, which is not necessarily a bad thing because he's already got double barracks opening, and you can see the switch now. Because, of course, Varangian guards are okay, but the knights generally will be better at taking them out. Not so much against Limitane, though. Looking to push down in the southeast, and because there's no real massive units here for Myriad, he might be in a bit of trouble, but I'm sure Defender's Advantage will work out for him, and of course the White Tower. Very nice staging ground to attack for. I think the villagers might be better off just going into the gold vein here now that it's safe and secure. instead of being constantly poked and prodded. Speaking about poking and prodding, that's exactly what myriad looking to do now. We'll pick off a couple of villages. In fact, was that monk? He sniped the monk there. And loses yet another villager. He's killed 3 for so far. Not enough space to garrison inside here, so we'll need to deal with this. Does have a good number of longbows and a couple of limitane, but I think a couple more villagers might go down. There it is. King gets sniped. Looks like trying to get water level 4 in time, but there's going to be a lot of gathering rates because of this. It's going to be a good 18% buffering. Not to mention the buffering of the production speed from the conscriptio. 60% at the moment, water level 3. The villagers are now mining gold here in the southern position. It makes a lot of sense. You don't want to be constantly harassed here. Speaking of which, I think villagers are going back to gold again in this spot. At least in the south, though, it means the gold will be trickling in safely and securely and smoothly. Now, as relics goes, it looks like it's going to be a 4 relic play here for the Byzantines. This one in the north should be captured relatively soon. I think Lancers, though, they're going to be running into trouble. Mostly longbows. And despite balanced projectiles is posing a bit of a problem to deal with these knights. They do have iron undermesh after all. Going to ride onto the woodline, but nothing there just yet. Villagers garrison inside the town centre. And whether myriad gets any more value out of this, I'm not so sure. We'll have to see. Yep, certainly Mamrez. Welcome on in the chat, by the way, on Twitch side of things. Hope you are doing well. We'll check over to the income per minute. We can see the English definitely got, the farms working well for them. But otherwise, relatively even on either side. It's just the food count, really, that's the big deal. And but bear in mind, of course, the olive groves gathers both food and olive oil for the Byzantines, and he's pumping out a lot of those longbows. It has been all game. $21 longbows on your screen right now, all paid for by olive oil. It looks like maybe myriad thinking about the Imperial age, actually. 17 minutes on the clock, and it's not a bad idea, right? Because ultimately, how much value can the Byzantines get here? I was going to try and look to get more value now anyway. By getting a Cairo siphon. Wait, what happened here with the palisades? What is going on? Did he just delete that? I don't know if that was a mistake. That was kind of weird. Either way, it's going to build it now. Cairo siphons, though, we'll make short work of that. I think he's going to go the Imperial age. And the question is, where does he change? Does it go for the Wingard Palace? I mean, it's probably a good option generally, but when you're up against the Cairo siphons now, maybe the Berkshire Palace might make a lot more sense. He's going to be feeling under pressure knowing that the army's there. I think he's got to go for the Berkshire, right? He's up against 83 military right now. The Byzantines have been pumping the Castle Age. This is actually something they do very well. They have a really good power spike in Castle Age, typically because they have the increased water level, right? So the village is gathering really, really fast, but also the production speed is going to be great from those buildings with the conscriptio. Instead, he decides, you know what? I'm going to go for the Berkshire Palace, and he's placing it on the southern area where there's a lot of exposed farms. It's going to be a good spot if he can keep it. Oh, it's going to be tough, though. That's a lot of units. Wait, Crackedy, does he not spot it? I don't think he does. He might now, though. He's getting the Cairo siphons built more. 2 of them already. Another one coming. Maggot about to deploy. Limitane. Have they deployed their shield wall? They're not yet. They do have that shield wall ability to make them take a lot less damage from ranged units, but the Berkshire Palace goes up in time, and unfortunately not spotting that was a problem for Crackedy, I've got to say, because he's going to take the fight now underneath the Berkshire Palace, which is not ideal. Oh, longbows did go on spread formation, but even then still took a massive hit from the Maggot, and that forward front line are going to struggle for Crackedy, but he doesn't want to go back, and he's going to run out of a lot of units. They're going to go down really quickly. He's fighting up against a Berkshire Palace. Maggot being repaired by the villagers, which is absolutely huge. That means the longbowmen, they can't stay there for too long, surely. And he can't snipe out that Maggot. They're going to try and get as much value as possible, I guess. But, I mean, there's not much more value to be had. Cairo siphons going to be torched down by the villagers. And the Cairo siphons can take out the farming economy whilst they can. There's no real retreat from that position with those Cairo siphons. We could potentially retreat with longbows, but yeah, he's going to do just that now. But he's lost so much. Having said that, he's got a good production behind this. The only concern for Crackedy is he might be hard stuck in the Castle Age, right? Because oh god, myriad getting hit by the Greek fire, right? Cairo siphon focusing on the farms, and then village got in the way for a second. Thankfully, not too many were burnt alive. A couple were, but could have been worse. Coming in from the right side as well. He's constantly trickling in these units. The Limitane have dropped their shield wall, so we'll be tanking against the TC fire, the Berkshire Palace, and also the White Tower. I mean, this is probably the worst tile to be in. for Crackedy right now. Getting fire from both the White Tower, 2 town centers, as well as the Berkshire Palace. And this should be a hold for myriad, right? The defensive strength of the English here really on display. Trying to get the palisades, but it won't work this time. Has to back away for now. The Crackedy behind this has got that 4th relic, and he has caught up with the villager count. So overall, it wasn't necessarily a bad play to dive on in, but he is an age behind. So villagers relatively equal considering Crackedy's on 1 town centre. He does have 4 of the relics. Now bear in mind, actually something to talk about strategically in this matchup. Some civilizations like the Byzantines can add in that 2nd town centre in the Castle Age to match their enemy. And also doing damage like this, you know, obviously helps in that regard. To try and equalise the villager count, but Crackedy actually stuck with 1 town centre. That's why he possibly feels the pressure to do more damage a little bit quicker. He's now looking to venture out on the gold veins on the map. Now we are 20, 21, 22 minutes into the game now, so it's going to be a bit more important to secure the gold veins on the map, especially the juicy ones, right? The 8,000 gold tiles here that we have. Something that both civilizations, both players will be looking to try and secure as much as possible. Speaking of which, by the way, they're both on this left side. It's really weird. Usually it's a symmetrical spawn, but not today. And that means there could be a big leaning towards that. I love the fact that myriad has been gathering this for a while, right from the beginning, right? When he moved those villagers out. The ones that survived, the ones that lived to tell the tale, decided to become rich with gold. Now the crazy thing for the economy for myriad, look at that food and gold. It doesn't have enclosures yet. It hasn't been able to afford it with the gold income. I suspect that's going to be the next upgrade he's going to want to get. Getting Man-at-Arms upgrade, Armored Clad, just to make sure the Imperial Age actually counts for something for him here, but I think he's going to want the enclosures ASAP. I hope he hasn't forgot about it. Crackedy going to torch his way through again, and this is the great thing about the Byzantines, right? Extending his water level up to water level 5, that will give him a cracking 26% extra gather rate on the villagers, but also a 100% production rate on those production buildings. And it's such a smooth way to play. Oh, these villagers. God, they didn't build the mining camp. Must be a shift click problem there. He's recognised it now. He's going to correct it. Thankfully so. Otherwise, it would have made a long journey through the stealth forest and back. The question is, what does Cracker do with this? Does he try and mass up like a 200 population civilization with lots of army and then go to the Imperial Age, or does he try and attack? It feels like Imperial Age has got to be on the cards, right? Because he can't just stay Castle Age forever, especially with all the upgrades now coming in from Myriad. But still yet no enclosures. Just needs a bit more gold. He's struggling for gold, right? This is where Crackedy pinning him back home is causing a bit of a problem for Myriad, although he is extending the villager count on this gold vein, and he will deal with that. A little bit of army for the Byzantines. But yeah, with this number of farms, enclosures will certainly be helpful, if you can get it. Starting to get some trebuchets and some vision here, Crackedy. Applying some mild pressure. The university is in, but you can't afford too much without the gold, right? The gold is kind of hurting him a little bit. 400 per minute. It's not a lot when considering how expensive these techs are. But he has now queued up enclosures. Really pivotal upgrade for the English, because that's what allows them to get away with this kind of greed, or not so much greed, but you know, this kind of absorbing of pressure. The fact their economy is so hard to raid, and they get both food and gold from the farms, is actually really all they need. When you think about late game units, most of the powerhouse late game units, they only cost food and gold, so that's exactly what it's going to be getting through that. Of course, enclosures isn't a long-term solution. There's a good bit of gold trickling in, but long-term you do want to secure the gold veins on the map, because you know these Imperial Age units they're expensive, and they can't just be fully supplied by the enclosures gold. There was once a time that it could be. That was a long time ago, and that has since been patched out. Of course, enclosures is not quite half the powerhouse upgrade that it used to be, but enclosures is now in place. I love that little bit of detail, by the way. Did you see the farms upgraded? You can see their little bags of gold, I guess. Such a nice, unique kind of thing there with the visuals. They do it so well in Age of Empires. The kind of attention to detail was very nice to see. And arms charging up north here for Myriad. Looking to get a bit of counter raid, forcing some army back, which is actually a lot of value. Like, it's not so much that, you know, Myriad's trying to get some value out of this in terms of villager kills. I mean, he might get some, but it's more about forcing a little bit of the army, at least, for the Byzantines to chase. Give a bit more of a breathing space. And Crackedy going for the stone walls in front of the trebuchets. This could become a problem, actually. He's taking out 2 of the landmarks, so all 3 landmarks in one, like, really small area of the screen means that Myriad is only going to be left with the Berkshire Palace, which is one heck of a landmark to be left with, but still, only one landmark does leave himself a little bit open to being sniped. Landmark sniping, of course, if you're new to Age of Empires 4, if you lose all 4 of your landmarks, or all the landmarks that you've built so far in the game, you lose the game. That's a win condition for your enemy. That's something that maybe Crackedy's looking to leverage here at this point. Kind of surprised that he hasn't picked up any of the sacred sites, actually. That's a bit of an omission there, because, of course, the sacred sites, well, gives him a bit of gold, but also gives them a potential win condition of a 10-minute timer, of which Myriad would have to venture out to try and decap. But with 5 trebuchets, he's slowly making his way through, and Myriad, his military army numbers isn't looking too great, although he's getting... It's the production that's probably the issue, right? Yeah, it is. He's getting the production now, but whether it'll be quick enough, I'm not so sure. Crackedy should be moving further forward now. He's going to extend the stone walls again to protect those trebuchets, and this could actually be a big problem for Myriad. Now, whether the trebuchets can... I don't think they can quite range the Berkshire Palace just yet, but it's going to look to do some infrastructural damage. I mean, it feels like it's got to go for the landmark, right? He's biding his time. He can take out more infrastructure. He does want to overshoot, I guess. He does want to overcommit and, you know, get destroyed because of it. And Myriad is now looking to get gold secured on the west side. And with the production that's coming out, making man-at-arms, this is a problem that Crackedy will struggle with, right? Because the man-at-arms, 120 resources. But the big thing is gold cost, right? Because the Ringing Guards, you know, whilst it's a similar cost overall, it's 40 gold, double the cost that the Ringing Guards have, and they're just not as good. Like, if you look stats-wise, the English man-at-arms should have extra HP when fully upgraded compared to the Ringing Guards, 216 health versus the Ringing Guard of 140 at this point. I mean, granted, I don't think he has elite army tactics and whatnot, but still. And of course, in terms of damage, 15 base damage. Of the Varangian Guards, man-at-arms 17. Yeah, things have started to quieten down, would you believe? But Myriad is up against a 200 population Byzantines, but he's not too far off population cap himself with the amount of production he's been able to place down. Of course, the Berkshire Palace can make units too, as well as the White Tower. And alarmingly fast paces. Going to dive on in, man-at-arms, Varangian Guards, tanking that front line, but this is going to be a tough one for the Byzantines. I mean, I think Myriad is going to back away for now. Doesn't want to take the fight just yet. Going to try and maybe go into the choke point, and that's going to cause a bit of a problem here. That is elite Varangian Guards, by the way. Getting the torches out. Unfortunately, wouldn't be able to extend the network of castles bonus. It's possibly looking to try and bait him in to try and fight within his base, but Myriad kind of gets the lay of the land. He sees what he's up against now. He's up against a lot. And man, get out. Also looking to deploy soon. He's going to need one heck of a hold here if he can. Plenty of resources though. Got resources coming out of his ears, and this is the big problem, right? Like, he can replace his army very quickly. And he's got a defender's advantage as well. So Crackedy's got to be careful not to lose his front position. It feels a bit dicey actually with the army here because it's a bit squishy. There's a lot of longbowmen, which actually doesn't really help Crackedy too much here. With this number of man-at-arms in his face, certainly Myriad has gone for that fabled army composition, man-at-arms crossbows together. But Crackedy has spotted the keep and is trying to challenge it now, but it's a bit of a distraction, right? Because, oh, this is rough. Like, it's just one landmark he's got to go for. And the problem is that the longer the game goes, it looks like Myriad is just looking a bit stronger. Considering the villager count, right? Because Crackedy's only got 75 villages, which they can get away with at times because of the olive groves, right? It's certainly helpful. Makes it a lot more population efficient, but of course the English do have the farms as well of their own. Sending a couple of horsemen to raid to try and take these villages. They've kind of aggroed into the outposts, which is not ideal. Villagers for Crackedy trying to mine the gold. They're both going to be mining together, apparently. They didn't get the memo there that they're at war. They can take out the outpost. Takes it out with one foul swoop, of course. 5 trebuchets. More than enough to deal with that. Here come the man-at-arms though. Ringing guards about to tank as well. There's hand cannoneers behind this for the English, which is actually going to do great wonders for this. Ringing guards, they're not being able to fight properly. A couple of Landsknechte added on in. Mangan about to deploy. Network of castles. In fact, possibly even network of citadels at this point. It is network of citadels. There's a 40% buffering on the attack speed, which is absolutely huge. You can get so much value. Oh, look at that. A couple of man-at-arms peeling away onto the trebuchets almost, but that's forcing a lot of Ringing guards to chase. A lot more than he possibly would have wanted. And the man-at-arms are starting to overrun. Crackedy. Oh, he's being pushed back heavily. And those Ringing guards are going to go down really quickly. And he might even lose all the trebuchets if the man-at-arms can keep up. Great victory in that fight, particularly for Myriad. And the push-out might be complete. Crackedy, he's having to retreat. And the thing is that how could he stop this massive man-at-arms now? It becomes almost impossible. Crackedy, he delayed trying to push that 4th landmark. And that could be his undoing at this point. Down to 44 military. And Myriad, he's pumping. He's got plenty of resources in the bank as well. So even if he does lose a couple of man-at-arms, which he might with those Nesta Bees in play, he snipes out one. There's still one more Nesta Bees. Man-at-arms, though, so tanky, even against Nesta Bee shots. He loses all the trebuchets, and that's a lot of resources that has just been lost here for Crackedy. He's backing away. He has to, no choice. He has to buy time to get reinforcements. Reinforcements are coming. Nesta Bees, 2 of them. That will help. Fighting in the stealth forest, but the man-at-arms don't seem to care at this point. He's just going to push on out. Myriad, all he has to do is A-click really, but he has pulled off a couple to go for the Nesta Bees on the left and the right side, looking to get a flank, and he's still pushing on out. Hand cannoneers in the stealth forest working wonders as well. Picks off 1 Nesta Bees. A couple of Streltsy popping out for the Byzantines as the mercenary unit, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to mass them up too easily. And there's just so many hand cannoneers now, and I think now the Ringing guards are going to have to go back home to try and protect the villagers. That he's being raided heavily. Crackedy with the man-at-arms, going to charge on through, and he's going to take out the rest of the longbowmen. The longbow are pretty obsolete at this point here for Crackedy, and he's going to be raided to death, you feel. I think, the Ringing guards, they haven't been able to hold. The English man-at-arms could just do this all day. They're going to make more as well, of course. You see the units trickling in across the map there for Myriad, coming in their droves in a singular line of red dots, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Crackedy has to tap up, no option. It's a great pushback in the end, a typical English playstyle from Myriad. Hope you guys enjoyed this casted game on YouTube. If you did, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Take care, and see you next time.